Let's pretend that we are a hiker, rock climber, taking steps to reach the summit. We will have to begin with an initial step. 1. We will call this initial step humility. Okay? Starting in Matthew 5:3, it tells us, "Blessed are the poor or broken in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." In the NIV, Isaiah 66:2, it says, "Has not my hand made all these things? And so they came into being, declares the Lord." This is the one I esteem, he who is humble and contrite in spirit and trembles at my word. Humble men are very fortunate because the kingdom of heaven has been given to them. An initial step to be pleasing in God's eye is to be humble. So number 1, humble. Number 2, the second step, penitence. Penitence. Matthew 5:4 tells us, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." A second step would be that feeling pain and sorrow for sins or offenses shows God we know our sins and offenses, that we know about them, and we are sincerely trying to change. We are broken and we mourn. Penitence. 3. The third step is meekness. Meekness. Matthew 5:5 tells us, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Being mild-mannered, mild-tempered, which is a sign of being born again through the Spirit. New Living Translation 1 Peter 3:8 says, "Finally, all of you should be of one mind, full of sympathy towards each other, loving one another with tender hearts and humble minds." If this is meekness, then we as a country are surely doing the wrong things to inherit the earth. We need to go back and start over again, loving one another with tender hearts and humble minds. Peter also uses an example of our feminine side, an example of meekness for us all, being brides of Christ. A lot of men don't like to be called a bride of Christ, but that's what the Lord calls us. New Living Translation 1 Peter 3, verse 3, it says, "Don't be concerned." Now he's talking, this is basically to women, but it's to all of us. "Don't be concerned about the outward beauty that depends on fancy hairstyles." I do tint my hair a little bit. "Expensive jewelry," none of that. "Or beautiful clothes." Walmart, it's good enough. 4. You should be known for the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so precious to God. A gentle and quiet spirit. Whether we are male or female, our beauty in God's eyes is not how good we look, or what kind of car we drive, or whatever, but a gentle and quiet spirit. 4. The fourth step is spiritual appetite. Matthew 5:6 tells us, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." If we are hungry to be just and good, we will be completely satisfied by the Lord. That kind of hunger, He'll fill us up. We are about halfway now to the summit, and so let's continue on. 5. The fifth step is mercifulness. Matthew 5:7 tells us, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." Mercifulness is an attribute of God, indicating further advancement towards that summit that we're going to. In the story of the unmerciful servant in Matthew 18, 21, 35, you might want to write that down because I'm not going to put it up. Matthew 18, 21 through 35, Jesus shows himself as the master, saying the servant's master took pity on him, canceling his debt and letting him go. When the servant was unmerciful, when that servant, the same one, was unmerciful to someone else, Jesus says, shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had on you? Then he turned him over to the jailer until he had paid all the owed money or whatever it was originally. He had to pay it all. Because he was showing mercy, but he didn't give mercy to someone else. I think that God turns us over to our own sinful nature sometimes to teach us a lesson and cleanse us, preparing us for his kingdom. So if you think sometimes you're just going through all that stuff again, maybe it's because of something you did. And so God's going to show you a lesson there, letting us go back to our old ways until we would finally cry out to him for mercy. Please, God, help me. The sixth step is a heart purity. Matthew 5:8 tells us, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. We will see God. Because we are getting closer to our summit and have attained higher attitudes. We start to see him and understand him. New Living Translation, Philippians 4:8, starting in B. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right. Think about things that are pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. This hiker we are becoming is getting to appear to be more effeminate as we go along in our scriptures. Thinking of things that are pure and lovely and admirable are more of what some might see as a gay quality, a far cry from the macho cowboy image that we are encouraged to have as leaders in this world. And in 1 Timothy 1:5, Paul teaches us where love comes from. New Living Translation, 1 Timothy 1, verse 5. The purpose of my instruction is that all the Christians there will be filled with love that comes from a pure heart, a clear conscience, and sincere faith. New Living Translation, 1 Timothy 3, verse 9 says, they must be committed to the revealed truths of the Christian faith and must live with a clear conscience. You hear us talking about conscience all the time. That's what we're dealing with inside. It's our conscience. Can we look at ourselves and say we're doing the right thing? 7. The seventh step is peacemaking. Matthew 5:9 tells us, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Most fathers would not be too proud of a son who just cared about being peaceful. I'm coming down a lot of that, aren't I? And maybe avoid going to war he might feel is unjustified. But we see here that those peacemaking sons are called sons of God. 8. The eighth and final step is suffering for Christ. Matthew 5:10, Matthew 5:11, and Matthew 5:12 tell us the following. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me, Jesus says. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. They did. Most Christians who say they are also gay. If you run into Christians that said, well, I'm gay, but I'm a Christian, and you might say, how can you be a gay Christian? But most Christians who say they are also gay fall into this category. And this is because of fear, foolishness, and lack of knowledge on their accusers. Straight Christians are rarely taught to ever believe that God could love anyone, except someone like they are. This is not the God I know. And I believe that this is the trouble with all religions in the world today. They are turning against a lot of people. Jesus says, you're all my children. And he has other pastures where there are his children. I believe that we need to also wait on the Lord before we jump out trying to do what we think would be doing good. We must wait for God's calling and his timing, so that what we do will be done in a gentle and respectful way, and being confident that it is really God and not just us doing it. When we know it is God and not us saying or doing something, then we have compassion for those suffering for Christ. When we have done all of this, we have reached the summit. It's going to take a long time. Well, that's it. Thanks for coming to the Ecclesia Cafe and Piano Bar and Bible Study. God bless you. See you again.